feels like the time is right for me to make an expression. Oh, I love you, I need you, I don't want to leave you guessing. So, will you be my friend? Will you stand by me till the end?
Hey there, welcome inside my real kitchen. Today I'm working on a batch of baguettes. Now baguettes are something that I make on a daily basis at work, but that's a totally different thing. That is pounds and pounds and pounds, dozens of pounds of baguettes at a time. Now I just want to try and make 3 or 4 baguettes at home with only the equipment that I have, which is probably pretty similar to what you have, except for one thing. I have this neat baguette pan in the oven to help hold their shape while they're proofing, but you don't need this to make baguettes. I can show you how to do it without it as well. So the first thing we need to do, because this process does take a little bit of time, is we need to collect all of our patience and start by mixing our dough. So to start our baguette dough, we've got a very simple set of ingredients: flour, water, starter, and salt. Starter in place of all yeast. And I'm trying to make about 3 pounds of dough. So I've got just under 2 pounds of flour, say a 1/4 pound of starter here, and a pound of water. The salt is like 2 tablespoons. We're gonna start with the starter on the bottom. My starter is very liquid and active right now because it's been sitting out for about 12 hours. So it's room temperature and very liquid. Then the flour, which is mostly bread flour, some all-purpose flour, and a little bit of rye, because I believe all sourdough tastes better with a little rye. And some water. This is previously boiled water to evaporate any chlorine. Now we're going to mix it up on low for about 10 minutes. We're really going to develop the gluten, make it nice and strong, but it's going to be a pretty wet dough because we want it to have a lot of room to develop large bubbles and a soft, fluffy crumb. And don't add this salt just yet. We're going to mix this for 10 minutes. And then we're going to let it rest for an hour before we add the salt, giving the yeast a good amount of time to begin its development without any hindrance from the salt. Alright, that's plenty of mixing there. And our dough does seem a little bit wet. But I'm going to leave it as it is for now, and we can adjust it a little bit more when we add the salt in an hour. I think just a little sprinkling of flour might do it a little bit of good. It will also firm up after it's night in the refrigerator, and we'll add flour to it as we shape. So this dough's going to rest for 1 hour before we add the salt, giving the yeast a good amount of time to really get active and to gently develop the gluten in here as it rests. It's been 1 hour, so now we will add our salt and a little bit of flour. See how strong it is from letting it sit? I'm just gonna add like a little handful of flour, not even the whole thing, and the salt. After this gets mixed up, this is gonna continue to rest in this bowl, and it's gonna sit out for 2 hours, and it's gonna get folded 3 times. You want to mix it slowly because this is a very gentle gluten structure, which you need to be delicate with, and we want to build up slowly and not disrupt or tear apart at all. Most of the reason that we wait so long to bake this, apart from it being sourdough and needing time to ferment, is so that you can give these gluten structures a really long time to develop those beautiful long air bubbles that give us the crumb that we're looking for. Just gonna turn it up a teeny tiny bit. I think that's all incorporated there now. And we're gonna just let it rest for 30 minutes. Then it's gonna get one fold, and then it'll rest again for 30 minutes and get another fold, rest again for 30 minutes, get a final fold, and have one final rest out here. That's a 2-hour bulk proof. And then it will go into my refrigerator overnight. And then tomorrow we will have the pleasure of taking them out and shaping them, letting them proof one more time, and then baking them with steam at a high temperature to get a really nice, shiny, crispy baguette crust. Okay, our dough's rested for 30 minutes, and we're gonna fold it. We're gonna fold it right here in this bowl just because we don't need to get anything else messy, but it'll be easier if you get your hands wet. And then just reach in and just pull it up and fold it over. On every side. I know it's wet and messy and it doesn't really seem like it's doing very much, but the more you do it, the more it will strengthen and you'll be able to feel how it moves and shapes. You're kind of just kneading it very, very lightly, stretching the dough and tucking it in. Okay. That looks good. I'm just gonna pick it up. It all comes up in one piece here like this. That's good. Fold it. This is, yeah, okay. All done. Do it again in a half an hour. Fold number 2. Don't forget to get your hands wet. You are making the dough just a little bit wetter, but it's okay. And this dough, to be honest with you, is wetter than the dough that I work with at work. But I think I can handle it. And the wetter it is, the more space and lightness it has to make bubbles. So, plus with this rye flour, you know, we wouldn't want to dry out these baguettes. Folding it up, just really trying to make it strong. Crisscrossing those gluten strands so that they build off of each other. Okay, see, we're getting it to be contained a little bit more into a ball here. I know it seems like contained. What are you talking about? You're just like tossing around a giant ball of dough. But I can feel the structure building. I can feel the resistance in the gluten strands, and if you get your hands in dough like this, you will too. Okay, time for the next 30-minute rest and the final fold in 30 minutes. Third and final fold, and we're starting to get some bubbles on the surface here. That's really nice. So we're just doing the same thing we've been doing, lifting up the corners and pulling them in, kind of draping it over itself, crisscrossing those gluten structures here. And the more water you have on your hands, the easier it will be to work with, but you will also be making the dough a little bit wetter. So, you know, choose your battles. Okay, now this is gonna sit out for one final half hour as it finishes its bulk proof, and then it's gonna go in the refrigerator overnight. Baguettes! All right, next day, it's time to take out our baguettes and start forming them. Now, because this is such a wet dough, We're going to liberally flour our workstation here and our hands. And turn all of our dough out onto the table. Perfect. Now we'll just put a little bit more flour on top. Feels pretty nice. Get some under the bottom, make sure nothing's sticking. And we're going to use this to divide this into 3 pieces, because I have this nifty pan that will hold my baguettes in shape. So I'm only going to make 3. But if you want to roll these out and put them on a sheet pan and let them proof on a sheet pan, which is completely acceptable, you can cut out as many as you like. You could do mini ones, you could do extra long ones, you could do really fat ones. If you had a scale, you could weigh them out and divide the dough into exact even numbers. But I'm just at home and I'm just eyeballing all of it. So we're gonna do a quick pre-shape into a little log and just let them relax. We don't want to squeeze any of the air out. It's been developing all of that nice structure overnight, and we don't want to destroy it by popping the bubbles. So now it's nice and cold, and oh, this one seems a little bit small compared to these 2. I'm just going to trim the edges of these and spread the love. You can just put this piece right underneath and it will sort of form back in. There we go. The dough just sort of absorbs itself, you know. Now this one feels small. I'm just going to take a little pinch. This is all part of the eyeballing process, everyone. You know, touch the dough, get familiar with it so you know how it feels, how heavy it is, how sticky it is. There we go. Now we're going to just let these rest for about 15 minutes. They're going to warm up a little bit and the dough's going to relax and be really easy to roll out into long, beautiful baguettes. And then we're going to cover one baguette in a little bit of a seed mixture. The other 2 are going to be left plain, and we're going to just let them proof on the board or on your sheet pan at home with flour underneath them for about 45 minutes before they go into the oven. A very high heat, 450 to 75 degrees, however high your oven goes up, with a pan of water. A pan that has preheated in the oven to get nice and hot with water that's poured on it right before the baguettes go in, and then they create a lot of steam, giving us a beautiful, crisp, and shiny crust. So we'll be back to this dough in 15 minutes. Okay, it's time to shape our baguettes. So we need a little bit of space here. They've gotten a little bit wetter as they expand and relax. So just need a little bit of space to roll them out. Got plenty of flour on here to make sure everyone doesn't make a mess. I'm just gonna flip it over. And we're gonna start by doing a very gentle rolling up with our fingers and our thumbs in the palm of our hand. And I'm just gonna do it one more time, fold it in and seal it. So we've got a bit of a seam down here at the bottom. I'm trying to get a nice firm skin on the top, so I might even do it one more time. The wetter it is, the more you have to fold it to get that nice firm skin. And basically I'm just tucking it in, folding it in half, and rebuilding the seam. It can be nice to get a little bit of flour on the bottom here. And we'll just gently roll it out think that this is long enough. We don't want it to be too long. Tuck it in a little bit. We want it to be even. So it's like folded in half, and then again in half, in half, in half. Seal that seam on the bottom. Make sure you don't get stuck to your table. See my seam's opening up a little bit. Tuck it in, close it. Tuck it in and close that seam. Now, just gonna roll it a little bit. We don't want it to be too long. And it goes on my pan. Last but not least, this one's gonna get some seeds on it. And I'm actually gonna do a little bit of inner tucking to make it a little bit shorter, because these first two have been really long and I want it to fit nicely on the pan, especially if it's gonna get seeds on it, which this final one is. Okay. Oh, you know what I forgot to do, which was really important? I forgot to put flour underneath my baguettes. So I have to do that. I have to backtrack and do that, or else they will stick when they cook. They're already starting to stick here. And if they stick when they cook, you won't be able to get them off. You'll destroy your bread. So I'm just gonna cover the whole thing with flour. We're not disrupting it too much here. Just be careful. Oh, and the one that's gonna get the seeds needs to actually get brushed off with the flour. And we're gonna put a little bit of water on it now. It's a little counterintuitive, but it'll make the seeds stick. So I'm gonna do this one that's closest to me. I've got a little bit of water here. I'm just gonna brush it on with my hands. Okay, it's good to put the seeds on now, because once this proofs up even more, it's gonna be very delicate. Now the seeds are just sticking enormously to my hands. That is okay. Making one very nice seeded baguette here. Okay, and I'm gonna let these proof uncovered so they start to create a little bit of a skin for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. And after that, they're gonna go in a 450 to 75 degree oven with a little bit of steam for about 20 minutes. Okay, the oven is preheated to 475 degrees, and it's time to put these baguettes in. I've got a pan in there that is also preheated. Our baguettes are dripping over the edge just a little bit, but that's okay. I'm just tucking it in so that it doesn't drip down and burn. That's the important part. All right, so these are gonna go in, and then I'm gonna pour some water right onto that hot pan, close it up, put a timer on for 25 minutes. Okay, ready? Close it up. "25 minutes. Can't wait to see what happens. I just realized I forgot to score the baguettes. We have to take them out. This is a very important step, and if we don't do it, they'll just explode everywhere. We need to give the water that's in the baguettes somewhere to go, out of the baguette. So we're gonna take a knife, the sharper the knife, the better. You just gotta cut some lines, some scores right in there. You make sure you get through the skin of the baguette. My baguettes are so wet. Okay, I hope this works. Thank goodness I caught this. The pan's not even hot yet. Okay, going back in. Oh my God. Okay. I want more steam. This is just steaming ever so slightly. But we work with what we have. Okay, 25 minutes. We'll check out these baguettes. Our baguettes have been in the oven for 35 minutes and they're about to come out. Let some of that steam come out before you stick your head in it. Oh, yes. Here we go. Some beautiful homemade baguettes. Well, I am very happy with the way that these came out, considering how wet and difficult the dough was to work with. So now we're gonna let these cool. We're gonna pop them out of their tins. And I apologize for not giving you a good view of the scoring because it really did work. At least on the middle one, you can see 4 distinct lines. But I got you on the camera angle for popping these out and letting them cool. I know you want to look at them. The bread, they're so pretty. Oh, they're so pretty. And the smells in here, you guys. It's still pretty hot. But I'm going to try and take these bad boys out of this pan to let them cool so that I can keep that crisp crust on the bottom. Oh man, they're so stuck. So I definitely made some mistakes with these, you know. The dough was too wet and I forgot to flour the pan. Now all the bread is stuck. It's still so hot. Well, I guess we just have to wait until it cools. So our baguettes finally made it out of their pan. Not quite intact. Now I know just flour under here is not enough. You must oil a pan like this, or if you put them on a sheet pan. But I have been nibbling on the crumb stuck to the bottom. It's great. So, one benefit of losing the bottommost layer of most of this bread is that I can see right into the loaf. I can see the beautiful crumb structure that we've created, and I'm very proud of that. And I didn't even have to cut it open. I just tore it out of the pan. And we've got this lovely seeded baguette. This is the one that's the most intact. It's just missing a small piece on the side. But again, you can see that beautiful bubbly baguette crumb. And it just smells so wonderful. And then I have this one, which lost most of its bottom and both of its tips. So this is the one we're gonna try. Really nice, crunchy, crispy crust. And it's chewy and tender on the inside, just like a baguette should be, with just a tiny bit of that rye flavor, just a tiny bit. This is a nice loaf of bread. I hope you enjoyed this episode and you try out some breads of your own. Let me know what kind of bread you'd like to see, or if you need any tips or want to try something new. And here's to a little seeded baguette with butter. Yum, yum, yum.